we have to talk about the article in particular was Will History Rhyme? And you go through this historical example of the Republican Party in the late 1800s and how they sort of had the option, I guess, when they were going through some change to go one direction or go in the direction of corruption and dirty politics.
Like you said, America has very little historical memory. And, I happened to get a book for Christmas that was about the 1870s, 1880s, and American politics. And I read it and I was just, wait, this is all happening again right now. And I wanted to share those thoughts with everybody. So what happened basically in the TLDR version is after the Civil War, the Republicans really had a lock on national politics. The Democrats had supported slavery. The Republicans won basically everything they wanted. And at that point in time, there were mass rallies. The way elections worked is they would get people to march around the cities with torches and put on uniforms to support their candidate. And these things were very expensive to run. Like all the people marching had to wear the uniform and they had to have the time to do it. And then they would be, fed some kind of a dinner or whatever afterwards to thank them for their support. And the system was basically that the people who got out the vote and did the voting on behalf of the candidates could expect to be rewarded by the politicians who got elected. And that was known as the spoils system. When somebody got elected and you had been a big supporter of their campaign, you could expect a very cushy job with very little responsibility, with either a decent salary or an opportunity to collect bribes.
And this is right around the time of Tammany Hall as well, if I'm thinking right.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. So the Republicans kind of had a lock on government, and the biggest source of money was the New York City, the Customs Bureau, where shipping would come into the port of New York, and the federal government then had a lot of revenues from tariffs, and the customs inspectors could kind of get bribes to slip things through, or interpret the rules to give a higher or lower tariff. And so the people who worked in the customs house made fortunes, and that whole system was controlled by a guy named Roscoe Conkling, who was a senator from New York, and he basically decided who got the jobs and who got the money after each election. And who then became President Garfield, was first a congressman and then a senator from Ohio, who didn't even really want to run for president. And he got nominated at the Republican convention after 35 rounds of ballots, where nobody for 35 rounds got a majority.
Wow.
And he was...
I want to just pause there though for a second, right? Because I know we talk about how intense like these political battles are. And again, we talk about how there's no historical precedent, and it's, I can't believe that they play these games, and we're talking about 35 rounds. Like there's definitely some tension there, right? There's
a lot of tension
party politics.
And a lot of prominent people wanted that nomination, including President Grant, who had already been president and had been the Civil War hero. And William Tecumseh Sherman's brother was in the running, and a senator from Maine who had formerly been Speaker of the House. So there were a lot of powerful people who wanted that nomination. But the Republican Party was split over the morality of the spoils system that many of them were benefiting from. And Garfield was a remarkable man. He grew up dirt poor in a log cabin in Ohio. His father died when I believe he was 3 years old, and he was, raised by a single mom trying to barely scrape a living together. And he went off and worked on the Erie Canal for a while as a young man. And finally got himself a solid education and became a first-rate classical scholar, and got a scholarship to Amherst and went to college. He was later a general in the Civil War on the Union side, and then started a political career. And he was probably one of the most effective public speakers of the time. And he made a floor speech in the convention that caused him to get nominated, even though that wasn't what he actually wanted. but it was such a powerful speech, he was nominated as the Republican candidate for president. Anyway, he was against the corrupt system, but his vice president, who's now escaping me, but I can look at it, was an appointee from Roscoe Conkling, who was previously head of the New York Customs House. Garfield got to Washington, and it was before there was a Secret Service or anything. And so for months, hundreds of people would come to the White House every day and sit there waiting to meet with either Garfield or one of the senior cabinet members saying, I want this job, I want that job, where's my job? So he was like literally for months just dealing with people who thought they deserved one of these, plum appointments for their support in the election.
His name is Chester Alan Arthur.
Chester A. Arthur. Sorry. So, and Chester Arthur was there, basically to keep an eye on the spoils for Conkling. And so there was a deranged guy named Guiteau, I believe is the pronunciation, who was from New York, and he came repeatedly to the White House and then to the State Department, and he was literally crazy, and he thought he was supposed to be the ambassador to France. And Garfield wouldn't appoint him, and nor would his Secretary of State appoint him. And they told him, you're not allowed to come here anymore. Go away. And so this guy, took his last $10 and bought a revolver and tracked Garfield down at the train station when he was on his way to go to summer vacation on the Jersey Shore to meet his wife, and shot him and in the back. And Garfield didn't die immediately. He actually died over, I forget, several months eventually of an infection. But Garfield was never able to make any headway against the corrupt system. There was just too much institutional momentum keeping all of the corruption in place. And people blame Chester Arthur. They said he had the most to gain. He's probably the guy behind this assassination. And he wasn't. He had nothing to do with it, but he was so horrified to be seen as such a terrible person who would kill Garfield, who everybody loved. He was an incredible man, that he had a complete change of heart. And when he became president after Garfield's death, he totally reformed the entire civil service system and created the civil service exam, wanted professional qualifications from government workers. And so I guess the real point that I was getting to in my article was, I don't see how the Republicans can effectively battle the deep state. Something like 97 or 99% of federal government employee donations go to Democrats. There's just probably no way that an outsider is going to be able to have enough political capital to change much of anything in that.
Like, my question is, like, do any of the Republicans, I know you say that all these deep state people vote Democrat, but I don't see much of what the Republicans want that's different, on the
Well,
federal level,
that's
especially
probably
when
true.
they're, you know, so that's some of this like left right stuff that I don't really buy into. But I understand what you mean. It doesn't matter, I guess, of whether it's a Republican or a Democrat. It's like, well, what is actually a feasible road to get these things done without getting yourself killed? How was Arthur able to escape the same fate as Garfield?
Well, I think it's because he had been part of the system. So there's like nobody who has a stronger conviction than somebody who reforms themselves, whether it be, a former addict or a former alcoholic. And once they become sober, they become the best advocate for that. And people respect that. I think it commands a different level of respect when somebody has been in their shoes and says, no, wait, there's a better way we should do this, rather than some outsider comes in and says, you're evil, I don't want you anymore, go away. So, and the other point I made in that article is, we don't have exactly the same spoil system that they did back in the 1800s, but you could link an awful lot to how the teachers union works. in terms of the teachers union is a massive get out the vote machine.
Right.
Uh, and then after the teachers union becomes responsible for the election of, I'm not talking about the federal level, but, a governor or, certain key legislators, then they come and they negotiate the teachers union contract with the same person that they
Right.
just caused to be elected. So, our modern day example of this is,
Well, I
just,
would also say the revolving door, right? You have people who go from the State
yeah,
Department to the private industry or private industry to different positions in federal government or, back and forth. I
absolutely. The
think, like,
revolving door is real.
yeah, like our Secretary of State right now, Blinken, he was previously in government. I forget what he was, but in between his government stints, he was in a military contracting business, you know?
Right.
So it's like, like I guess his pay back for being such a great military contractor is now he gets to be Secretary of State and he get,
Right. And a regulator from the FDA ends up at Pfizer and then back in government, after a period of time. All of this is
all
true.
the different industries, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I
Um,
don't really see how you can say it's really much different. I think the union one is a particular example, with the contract negotiation, but I mean, it really is the same paying to get your drugs passed through industry, paying to have your contracts in the weapons industry be chosen. It's all, they're coming for the spoils.
Absolutely. Well, and this kind of goes back to your earlier question. Why doesn't government work? And government doesn't work because government isn't trying to work. The incentives for a politician are to get reelected, to continue to have power, and to continue to be in a position to extract money from the system for themselves, their friends, and their family.
I'm feeling a little black pilled. You know what that means?
No,
Okay, so
red
like
pill and blue pill is from
right. Yeah, so we got the red pill, the blue pill, right? Blue pill, I just wanna stay, like, in the matrix, like, ignorance is bliss. Red pill is you go down the rabbit hole, you're Neo. But then you have white pill and you have black pill, right? So, white pill is like, "Oh, like, you're optimistic about the world and everything's great." Black pill is like you're a nihilist. And, the way that you're setting things up being like, "It doesn't really seem like there's much hope to save this." What we have going on here. An outsider can't come in and do this. Maybe an insider would do it, but we see that they all seem to be into the game. Like there
Okay.
hasn't been any hope for insiders, or they just get offed. Right? I think the last like couple of really like big American leaders that we've had have not survived into their later years. Um,
Right. So that wasn't my intent because I guess really where I'm going with this is the voters are getting the politicians they deserve, right? And we have a democracy. And we actually have a constitutional republic, but the voters have a say, and the voters could use their votes a lot more effectively if they thought a little bit more deeply about the messages that they're believing and the causes that they're thinking they're supporting, but they're not effectively supporting.
So
Uh,
you have faith in the voting system, like, you have faith that, like, going to the voting booth, like, those things translate over into, like, real outcomes. I mean, just here in Connecticut, we saw, how they with all the absentee ballots and the early voting, that they're rigging the game, like, this isn't conspiracy theory, like, both sides got caught red-handed, so do you have faith that it even matters? Like, even if we all, like, woke up and we voted for the right guy, would they let us win?
I think so. I mean, there's a limit to how much of the shenanigans in voting that can be gotten away with. I mean, this isn't. The other thing is none of these are new problems. It's widely believed that the votes in Chicago um, tossed the 1960 presidential election to Kennedy through some sort
Yes.
of corruption, right? So this is not a new problem. America has survived these problems before, and America goes through periods where we're all messed up and periods where we kind of get things working. And I kind of subscribe to the Winston Churchill theory that, America always does the right thing after they've tried everything else first. So we've been trying a lot of the wrong things here for a while, and probably it's time we're going to start trying some of the right things.
I mean, I certainly hope so. Okay, so now I see that this is a white pill, not a black pill. Got it. I generally try to stay, on the white pills.